So our reading today comes to us from Matthew, the 20th chapter. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. When he went out at about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. When he went out again about noon and about 3 o'clock, he did the same. And about 5 o'clock, he went out and found others standing around and said to them, "Why are you standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and then going to the first." When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received the usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against their landowner, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous?" So the last will be first, and the first will be last. This is the word of the Lord. You may be seated. Well, that's not fair, is it? It's really not. It's not fair. If you were to do something similar like this today, you might need to get into some labor law issues if you were to pay the same wage to one person who starts at the beginning of the day and the same to one person at the end of the day. It's not really fair, but God is saying, "I'm doing something new with you." And it's important to remember the context that this gospel was written for, right? So we've been in the Gospel of Matthew for a long time, and I've kept reminding you that this was a gospel particularly written to a Jewish community, a brand new group of people who were just starting to figure out what it means to do this Christ life thing. What does it mean for us to be Jews? But now there are people who didn't grow up as Jews who are joining the family, people who are joining the church who have never been a part of a church before. We have family that go back thousands of years living this life of God, and now there's these new people who just started an hour ago. Don't we deserve more? Aren't we more prosperous? Don't we deserve a better seat? Don't we deserve to have the best pew in the house? And God says, no. Something new is happening here. You have no more of a calling for God than anyone else. That God is doing something new. God is leveling the playing field. That there is no hierarchy anymore, which is something natural that we fall into, thinking, well, I'm a charter member. Of course, I should have a little bit higher status in this church, or I've been here for 40 years. I get that call every once in a while from somebody who maybe doesn't even come to church, but says, well, I've been a member here for 30 years. Like, okay, and we all have the same seat here. We're all equal. None of us have more respect than the other. In God's eyes, we are all here the same in this house. It doesn't matter how long you've been laboring in that vineyard, that we all have the same footing. And that would have made some people really angry hearing that story back then, to say, really? I've been doing this my whole life, my whole family for thousands of generations, and now all of a sudden this new Gentile outsider comes in and they get the same standing with God as me? Yeah. There's no hierarchy here. God is doing something brand new and saying you're worth the same as everybody else. And that's something that is amazing that happens right here at this font. And here we are all called as children of God, every single one of us called and chosen as a new piece, a new building block in this great temple of God, this house of God that is made up of not just bricks and mortar, but of people. Right? And each and every single one of us is particular, is different. And it's so easy for us to begin to draw up lines and divisions and try to separate one another to say, well, I'm better than this person, or that person loves God more, or they certainly have a closer relationship with God because of this, or those people are kind of, I don't know, so maybe we should keep them on the outside. But God calls us to look at each other and say, I need each and every single one of your individual particularity, right? In some of my work that I do about cross-cultural engagement, one of the things that people try and get in their mind is this idea that, well, no, I'm colorblind. I can't be racist. And I say, that's not actually helpful. It's not helpful to be colorblind. You want to see the differences in people, but the difference is that you want to see the difference in people, but see it as something that you need. You need to see that you are incomplete without those particularities, that you are not a whole church of God without each and every single person's distinctiveness, right? And so this new work of God saying, hey, we are all called together and you're all a part of God's kingdom is not about just whitewashing everything, but it's about saying each and every single one of you matter in this house. And I need each and every single one of you, that I need to see our differences and appreciate them, that each and every single one of us have a particular gift to share in this room. And that begins here, but also continues at this table of mercy. Because at this table, we do something miraculous. We say that at this table, we all become one body. That each and every single one of us become a particular part of God's body, a finger, a palm, an eye, an ear of the body of Christ out in the world, reaching out to cultivate that atmosphere thick with love that we're trying to do. And some people might say, well, I'm the eye, I'm more important, right? Well, no, I'm the hand, that's more important. Or I'm the foot, I'm more important. Somebody might say, well, I guess I'm just the pinky toe. But guess what? We need that pinky toe too. We need every single part of the body in order for us to be able to go out into the world and share this love of God that has been so freely given to us in Jesus Christ. Each and every single one of us, called and chosen, invited into the vineyard, and each of one of us given the fullness of God's kingdom and grace, that all of us get a full portion. All of us get that full portion of God's love, and we have nothing to do with it. We don't even deserve it, but God gives it so freely to us, and then says, go and do my work. Each and every single one of us called to use our own particular gifts and talents to cultivate that atmosphere thick with love that is so necessary in a world where we just try and divide to say that person is better, they deserve more, they deserve less, where we try and separate each other out just to make ourselves feel a little bit more comfortable. But instead, we're called to open up our eyes a little bit bigger, to open up our hearts a little bit wider, and to search out, to say, even though you're different from me, how can I appreciate you? Because I need you, because I'm not complete without your voice, without your presence, that this church is incomplete until we can really wrap our arms around this whole community. And so we bow down together here at the foot of the cross, here where God says, I'm not going to stay far away from you, but I'm going to come close. I'm going to experience life with you. I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to eat with you. I'm going to feel what it's like to be even betrayed. And I'm still going to tell you I love you, and I'm still going to forgive you, and I'm going to invite you into my generosity and forgiveness to do the work of love. So take that work on. Know that you have received the full richness of God's grace. No matter how long you've been around, no matter how much you struggle with God's grace, no matter how many times we fall headlong for the desires of this world, we keep on striving to declare that we are part of God's kingdom, workers in God's vineyards, cultivating the soil to make this atmosphere that's rich with love. And hopefully you see that, you experience that, you write that down on those little hearts that we're putting inside that church, and maybe soon we'll start to see that church starting to pour out with God's love because of the way that we care for each other, that we love each other, and then it'll not just end here inside this room, but it'll begin to infiltrate every corner of your life, out in your neighborhoods, out at your work, at your schools, and people might even ask the question, what's this about? What's this love? Where's the source for all this just generosity that keeps on coming from you? And then you can point to Christ, right? That this is not about us, but we are so empowered. We're given the energy here at baptism and again at communion and by this gathering of people to keep on going out and saying to the world, we can love each other. We really can. We can move past all of the divisions that we might put up between each other and cultivate this atmosphere rich with love in the world, and it is possible today. Amen.